Hello, welcome to the latest edition of Across the Pond with myself, Jim, and Tracy. And today we're going to be talking about the Epstein Files. And I'll kick it off. And to me, because I've been hearing about this for over a decade, it's it seems like I'm getting the news 2 to 5 to 10 years earlier when it actually comes out on the mainstream media. I get that feeling. But talking about the Epstein files in the UK, we've had formerly Prince Andrew, now Prince Andrew Windsor, more details of some of the perverted stuff he's been up to, and the former US Ambassador Peter Mandelson, who was in Tony Blair's government, and he was good friends with Epstein, and it's revealed that he was passing government secret stock market inside information to Epstein, so he could be going to jail.
I
And
need
when we're
friends like that.
and when uh, it came out, it's sort of already I've already heard his name, but I've also seen pictures of him. He was on a beach in Rio de Janeiro with some young boy a long time ago. And as for Prince Andrew, I heard a rumor that when he was in the Navy, he was caught in his cabin, Rio de Janeiro, with a boy. Now, the thing is with the Royal Navy, if you're caught in that situation, or definitely back then, you're automatically AIDS tested. And they said he was HIV positive.
What?
Now,
Is that
and
for
I'm
real?
well, well, it might well be when you hear the source of of the rumor.
Okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
listening to a couple of lieutenants who worked in the Admiralty. So that's not just a casual bloke down the pub having a chat, something. So that gives it license. So yeah, so I'm not surprised at either those two, but I've been watching a few podcast bits and bobs, what people are saying, and the stuff I'm hearing is unbelievable. I'm hearing about all this is allegedly, by the way, President Bush who raped a black boy or something. And
Now
some
we
of
have to
it,
differentiate the Bushes. Are you talking about
yeah,
Bush Senior or Bush Minor?
senior here, and there was also reference to junior as well, and the cannibalism on uh, the importing foreign babies and sacrificing them. Now, obviously, the those two things I've just said were in the Epstein files. They're read out by a credible source, and these are claims made by witnesses. There, people say, victims, in other words. So you don't know how it's true, but it's sounding horrific. And I don't think all the Epstein names have come out yet.
No, they haven't.
We haven't heard anything from Hollywood, and we haven't heard anything about Supreme Court judges. Uh, and do you want to jump in here?
Well, on this end, we haven't heard too much about the Bushes, the Bush family. But I will pipe in, and the only thing I will add to that is that we have to remember that human beings are animals, and we do have weaknesses that causes us to act in ways that are not good for us as a community. So what a lot of us are experiencing is that people are having a hard time believing that people can do that. But you don't have to believe that. All you have to do is go back to some of whatever is going on right now on our planet. People getting sexually assaulted, children getting hurt, people being deprived of their liberty. This is nothing new. It's just people have a hard time digesting it, and especially people that they do look up and admire or respect. And I think that some people have a hard time believing it because it's been so well hidden. When I mean, I dealt with one person who was a snake a while back, and they're very clever people. They know it's wrong. It's just that they have to hide it because they love that energy that it gives them. It's a dopamine hit to be a deviant. So I get it. I mean, all you have to do is listen to songs in our pop culture or movies and stuff. People like bad guys,
Yeah.
and it's sometimes it's fun to be bad, but but that is also an era, and I lived through it when I was in my 20s and 30s and in my teen years. And America is a different country, and what was considered acceptable back then is not acceptable now. And you can understand, and that would also lead into the veracity, the viciousness. I don't want to use the word vicious, but when it comes to the Me Too movement that came from out of that era, you can understand why there was just this resentment that was coming out from the women population in my nation at least. So I'll let you take over, but I'll have more to chime in about Pizzagate because I started hearing about it like in 2015 when it first started. So and I just happened to be paying attention. So you go
Yeah.
ahead and if you got anything to add.
Yeah. Okay. I want to mention Hollywood, which is this is tangential to the
Holly
Epstein
weird.
Hollywood. Yeah. That I was told because the Democrats, because Hollywood is wealthy, they fund the Democrats and the mayor of LA and that. So whenever they're caught up to no good, they're sort of let go or have been in the past because they're the ones who pay their bills. So
Yes.
you have that level of corruption in Hollywood. Apparently, there are some who want to speak out about it, like Mel Gibson, Denzel Washington, and there's another one I can't remember his name. I think he's one of those who invested in that football club Wrexham in the UK. Um, not the Reynolds, the other guy. I can't remember his name.
I don't know who he is, but
No, yeah,
go
but
ahead.
there was three of them that have made insinuations and want to speak out, but obviously they can't. And the films they do now, that's are independent.
Yep.
They because they're cancelled and everything else. I think it was chap who made the, the Sound of Freedom about trafficking. He starred in that.
Yes.
That got
Yes.
smeared by the mainstream media
Of
here.
course.
I haven't seen it yet, but it's one on my to watch list.
I heard it's very good, and anyone who has seen it had their eyes opened because it's something that's not really talked about in polite society. Even in a country that's crass like the United States, it's sometimes disappointing that when you present people with those kind of facts that people don't want to see it. So, but the movie itself is very good, and it's factual. So you can't watch that movie and say to yourself like, "Oh, this never happened." It did. And the victims of those kind of crimes, they have to be remembered, and this is where their names need to be known. Because it's a terrible feeling to be that helpless, and then you realize there's a bunch of adults like they get off on your helplessness. It's a pathology. It's psychologically abnormal, but some people live like that because, like I said, people get off on being bad and hurting people and watching people suffer. I mean, I have caught myself. Everybody has a mean streak, and what separates us from people who have no self-control is that we have that voice that tells us no, the conscience. And
Yeah.
you sometimes wonder if the conscience of these people are broken. And and my answer is yes. They don't have that light inside of them. They don't have that I call it the voice of God or an angel or or for people who are like pagans and stuff like, the voice of the goddess or God, great spirit. They're just it's
The,
dead. They
the,
don't the only thing these people understand is the stick. And you have to beat these bad people and punish them for them to not to continue in that pathological behavior because they
Yeah.
suck.
Leading on from that, well, up until recently, for the people involved with Epstein, there was next to zero accountability for a long time. Listen,
Yes. Well, as a woman from that era, growing up in that time, we were not take a look at pictures of Trump when he was younger. And you got to understand that was the cult. Like people say, like, oh, look at Trump with all these young women and blah, blah, blah. Uh, that was common everywhere. Uh, uh, it the objectification of women, the objectification of children was kind of rampant. And like I said, I am not surprised that the end result was, this, we make fun of, the Me Too movement now. And so, because it went way off the rails after that. But there was, like I said, there was a reason why it happened. You could see some of the Hollywood actresses that were affected, like Harvey Weinstein, for example. The guy was a pervert. I mean, he got away with it because outside of, his secret life, he was an effective movie mongol. I mean, he was just a very successful man with a lot of drive. And like I said, unfortunately, they get addicted to the high of having great sex with whatever they were chasing after.
it,
He wasn't
it,
satisfied with just being married to his wife. He needed more, and he just liked the rush he got from doing it. It's fun.
Part of the problem is people who know stay silent. I was talking to a CEO
Hmm.
about Strauss Kahn, and he was a top CEO economist, and his sort of penchant was for raping chambermaids. And I talked to the CEO, and he sort of laughed. He said, "Oh, we've all known about that for ages, but nobody reported him because partly because you don't want to rock the boat, I
Hmm.
suppose, and it becomes in between. You might have dirt on him; it's an advantage, but likewise, he might have dirt on you or your friends. So it's a complex web. It's not a good one. I mean, they should have sort of hotlines where people can report this sort of thing,
Right. Oh, like I,
but make it so that you need quite a few reports and they're non-connected. Two parts of the country in different times, but the people reporting are not known to each other.
right.
There's all to stop it being used as a weapon against certain men, but and make sure that you get the right ones, and it could also act as a deterrent, I think. But
Well, that's
anyway,
why. Well, that's why I'm very happy with I mean, there's pluses and minuses with today's technology. Like there's cameras everywhere now. You will notice that a lot of that nonsense has been cut down. And especially with the Me Too movement that came out of it afterwards. It's let's put it this way. The power that these people had, they got really cocky with it. And when
yeah,
it backfired and it backfired grossly, you can see what the end result, like, I mean, I'm still flummoxed with what happened to Epstein when he was in jail. I mean, he was murdered. I mean, I'm not, I mean, New York City's not that far.
agreed.
He was murdered. And everybody who can read the like in between the lines when like publications come out like in newspapers and like online, uh it was an inside job, and I don't know. And people were talking about how Epstein, was part of Mossad or whatever. It really doesn't really make a difference who he was working for. He was someone that blackmailed people, and he was very successful at taking advantage of people's weaknesses. Like a rich guy that owns a successful business, for example, like the one that came out, the owner of Victoria's Secrets, for example. That's how Epstein ended up getting that really nice mansion in New York City because he was blackmailed. And the power of blackmail is very, very powerful, when you don't
Yeah,
want people to know your indiscretions. So, and for me, like when I first heard of Pizzagate, like here in this country, we had Pizzagate, and I regretted that I never recorded any of the videos that were on YouTube when it first came out. And there were like this group of people who were doing research of the Hillary Clinton emails that someone like broke into her server at one of her homes and were able to download all the emails that was stored on her server. And some of the messages were just weird. Like they talked about handkerchiefs and pizza and other code that's usually used by
Yeah,
pedophiles. So
it's like ice cream is a young girl, chocolate ice cream a black young girl, or
something
vanilla
like
or what, and boys are dogs.
hot dog. And there's a famous one with,
Both is pizza. I think that's
well,
what the
there,
Pete.
yeah, there's a famous one with Obama where for some sort of hot dog party, it cost like an astronomical amount of money. And for people like me, I always have this saying, like, you can't rape the willing, but prostitution, unless you go in there willingly and you do it with your own consent, I have a hard time, like anyone that's underage, like doing this stuff willingly, if at all. I mean, it's a disgusting practice. I myself, I mean, I'm an older woman now, but sex, I mean, I have started learning to value sex for what it is. It's a very powerful energy. And to see it getting misused by people in power disgusts me because of the people they end up hurting. Like just imagine you work as a prostitute and then these same people, like you'll see them in public and you can't even talk to them. You can't even relate to them. I mean, some of them will have like special relationships, but in general, you're a commodity. You're treated like a loaf of bread or something. Like, if you don't want it, you get discarded, you get thrown in the trash. It's why a lot of people try to regulate prostitution in this country because it's speaking of which, one thing I do remember in the 70s and 80s, because during the 70s we had the terrible we had horrible recessions because of inflation. And I remember you can still see these documentaries on YouTube, but there's a lot of documentaries in the 70s about people like, walking the streets and runaways, and this is now taking place in New York City right now. I mean, I noticed there's just one guy that started recording certain sections of New York City where there are now young women, teenagers, runaways, being prostituted, and then there's a lot of some of them are illegals, and they're all stripes. They're not just, Hispanic or black. I mean, it's like everybody. I mean, you got like people that look like me that are Slavic that are being trafficked. So this is nothing new. And it's sad. It's just that how do you get out of it? How do you become whole and fix yourself so you can have so your relationship with humanity is not tarnished of like what happened.
You mentioned I'll interrupt because you mentioned Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yes.
I watched an interview. It was on RT before they were banned in the UK. An interview with Julian Assange,
Okay.
who had the WikiLeaks,
Yep.
and he said, "What was the most incriminating email that you got from these email dumps?" And he said it was one called Libya TikTok. That was when Hillary Clinton was emailing President Obama and saying to him, "Look, if you remove Gaddafi, you can have all this done and dusted by the election, and it'd be a shoe-in for Hillary." And of course, it all sort of went wrong.
Yes.
But that's planning war for electoral gain, which is psychotic.
They're
When
not
you
normal people.
no,
Hillary,
no,
they're like I remember one time I was watching a spoken word with Henry Rollins. He was like the lead singer for Black Flag, a punk band in the United States.
I've
And
heard of them.
I remember years ago he was I can't remember what year, but this is when I was still in my 20s, late 20s, and he talked about Hillary Clinton. This is like after a few years after Hillary Clinton's husband got caught with a mistress in the White House, but he did not like Hillary Clinton. There's just something ugh about her. And there was a magazine called Spy Magazine. I remember undercover they had Hillary Clinton dressed up as a dominatrix and saying like that's the problem in the White House. So you kind of wonder, like, what do people know about her that I don't know? And like I
Well,
said, human sexuality you know, I mean, if God had a plan, you know, and if he had a sense of humor, I mean, all you have to do is just about human reproduction. It's comical, but like I said, it has a dark side, and
yeah,
obviously, so I don't
Hillary
know. Yeah.
Hillary Clinton was thrown off the Watergate investigation committee uh, for ethical misconduct.
Yes, that's true. She was.
So, so it's not a recent thing that she's been a bit dodgy. There's evidence all her career, and what's it called? Failing up. People will continually fail, but
Yeah.
keep getting promoted. It's like that. What's her name? Victoria something or other, who was in Biden's cabinet. She'd failed at everything she'd done.
Oh, Victoria Newman or
That's the
Newsom.
one.
Yeah, she sucks. Like what she did in the Ukraine. We wouldn't be at war right now if it wasn't for that clown. Oh my God. But I hate her. There's no justification. Yeah, but it's like I said, it's you know when you read about this stuff. But I'll tell you what though, like when I was learning Pizzagate, it was a big deal, and Pizzagate came out like maybe a month or two before the 2016 elections between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and when all those videos came out, I was like mesmerized because before that, I was a registered Democrat. And I will admit, my train of thinking back then was very sluggish and not the way it is now. Now I'm a lot more suspicious. And I think that comes with age anyway. But I ended up becoming more conservative after Pizzagate because I realized I had no friends on in the Democratic Party. I mean, the Democratic Party was changing. I just did not realize how much it changed during the 20 years I was in it. Because you know, I'm a person of empathy. I want to help people. I believe in the social safety net. And then you find out that the politicians and the people that help run you know the United States of America. You find out that they're a bunch of weirdos. And like I said, like you
Crooks.
mentioned earlier about Libya, I mean, Gaddafi didn't have to be killed. He wasn't even bothering anybody. He was living his best life. And the worst part was that he was trying to bring in a water supply. He was going to aquify the deserts in Libya. He was going to make it from where it was at that point to making it even a better nation. And the United States ruined it. And I know why, but it was selfish and uncalled for. I mean, whatever. I mean, Libya now sells slaves. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's
don't
dire.
forget, and don't forget, like, I mean, I don't want to talk about organized crime, but you know, when you have like organized crime, like in Italy, and I'm not going to mention names because uh, I don't want my ass kicked. But you know, you have organized crime that takes advantage of it, and like for example, there's a lot of now like a lot of the farms like in Italy and in other parts of Europe, they have slave labor. They'll be stuck on some farm. Some of the women are prostituted. Like in 20 years ago when the Iron Curtain fell in Europe, a lot of your prostitutes used to come from Eastern Europe, but now
Yeah.
as Eastern Europe has become more par to par with the other Western countries in Europe,
I've seen
uh,
them in London, mainly Russian, but a lot from the satellite states as well, the Baltic states
mhm.
and Poland and Hungary and the other countries there. Yeah, you regularly see the women, dressed up like
Right.
tarts, for want of a bit, at about between 11 and 1 o'clock in the morning, out in groups in shops
Hmm.
speaking either Russian or some Slavic languages. So yeah, I witnessed a lot of that at the time.
Yep. Now it's
So I knew
most
that was coming up.
that was, but now it's been replaced by Africans. So if you want a prostitute, you're not going to have